All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And today we're going to have a very fun video. It's going to be a first impression kind of a video. I've been getting a lot of requests regarding some of the new fragrances from Sospiro House. And specifically, one of the new ones that was recently launched, Maraschino, which has been getting a lot of hype on Instagram and YouTube. So I decided to get my nose on it and see what it smells like. I don't have a lot of cherry fragrances in my collection. I think I got about 4 of them. I think I got Lost Cherry, Smoke Cherry, Electric Cherry by Tom Ford, and Rome Chillum, which is a discontinued fragrance by Stephanie Merluca. And cherry is a very tricky kind of a note in perfumery because it can come off as cough syrupy. And so it's not going to be fun if it's like that. So I'm very interested to see how Christian Provenzano has approached this note in here. So, but I do have other fragrances from Sospiro House, which I'm going to do a first impression on them as well. They've been getting a lot of hype last year, which I never got the chance to get my nose on them. So I thought, why not do a first impression today and kind of go over them really quickly and see what they really smell like. So let's unbox this and see what we get. Ooh, look at this. It's already falling apart. There is the bottle. There you go. Very pink. Very beautiful. Maraschino. Maraschino. I love the name. First, when I heard the name, I thought of Marshmallow by Unique Luxury. So I thought it's going to be some kind of a marshmallow kind of a scent. But then I remembered that maraschino cherries are very well known. It's something very gourmand, edible, and it's actually not very healthy for you. It's very high on sugar. It has a lot of processed sugar in it. But initially when I sprayed this, I felt like this is very strong. It's a very bright kind of a scent. It filled up the whole entire house. It's definitely not a weak fragrance. It's very loud and potent. Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's very strong, very beautiful, very youthful, very energizing, very bright. Definitely a summer type of a scent. It leans on the feminine side. It does a little bit remind me of Electric Cherry by Tom Ford, just a little bit, but this one is much brighter, more playful. It leans on the feminine side, but very beautiful. You do not get any cough syrup kind of a smell. Very well done. Very smooth, very well blended, but very strong, very powerful. So Maraschino definitely reminds me of a Vibrato as far as performance and strength of the fragrance goes, at least so far, because I haven't had the chance to spray it on my skin and see how it performs. I do agree with others. It's not your usual cherry scent, but more of a fruity cocktail and floral kind of a fragrance. Cherry is definitely present, but there are definitely other notes in here, such as peach and strawberry that I can smell. The peach is very luscious, sweet, nectarous, very delicious, and strawberry has this tart berry sourness to it, which just gives this very beautiful modern edge to maraschino. So you do get this very sweet, beautiful, delicious opening of a maraschino cherry with this, but then you also get this sour, delicious, fresh gourmand, fruity cocktail kind of an accord that's going along with cherry note, which makes it very interesting. All right, so I do take it back. It's not as strong as Vibrato initially as I thought it would be. It's not that potent. Now that it has opened up more, it definitely calmed down. Either my nose just went completely blind or it literally calmed down. So it's not as potent and as strong as Vibrato. But also, as I mentioned, I definitely can smell the almond in here, but it's not very prominent, more like a vanillic almond. It is a little bit nutty as well, which has some addictive qualities to it. And what I have realized with the nuttiness in fragrances that definitely increase this addictive quality in the fragrances that makes you want to keep going back for more. And I love that. Also, what I like about this so far is that it's not overly synthetic or cough syrupy, and that's a very good thing. It does have a little bit of similarity to Tom Ford Electric Cherry in the opening, but that's about it. Now that it's opening up more, I feel like there's some very opulent floral chords are coming through, which they are blending with the fruity notes really well. Yeah, now that's opening up more, the fragrance shifts and cherry takes the spotlight while the other fruits step back, but they're definitely there. So it's definitely has this cocktail fruitiness, but they kind of go back like the strawberry and the peach, they kind of go back and the cherry kind of comes in the spotlight. There's a hint of almond now because on the opening, the almond was stronger. It was more prominent. But there's a hint of almond, not overpowering like many other fragrances in the same genre. It is a sweet, delicious, fruity, floral kind of a scent, which makes it very unique in its own way. The cherry is slightly sour, which I find it very exotic, giving off a sour candy vibe, perhaps like Smarties or Pez, if you will. Kind of sweet, a bit tangy, a touch powdery. All right, so next we have another fragrance from Sospiro House, which got a lot of hype as well, which most of the hype I saw was last year. And I never got a chance to get my nose on this, which is Dolce Melodia. A lot of people on YouTube talked about this. A lot of ladies found this very beautiful. So I kind of wanted to get my nose on this one and see what really smells like. So I'm very excited to open this and see what we got here. Dolce Melodia. So I have to say I like this one better than Maraschino. This one is right up my alley. And I think the reason for that is because there's something leathery in here, which is not leather. It's beautiful. This is right in your face. So initially, what I get is this juicy, bright, zesty, gauzy, layered, bubbly mouth watering opening. It is very smooth and creamy, but there's something about it that is also spicy, earthy, kind of intimate, sensual, spicy, which must be a big dose of saffron. So the saffron on the opening is very big. I can definitely smell that. So it gives off this kind of like a leathery vibe to it, which makes it very sophisticated. So imagine a fruity, kind of Hawaiian punch, floral kind of a scent that is very playful in that way, but then you got a big dose of saffron that counterattacks that, and it makes it very sophisticated, classy, and upscale, if you will. So it definitely has that, and I think that's why I prefer this over Maraschino. I think Dolce Melodia is very beautiful. Wow, this is just incredible. I really like this. Very beautiful. Fantastic. So again, it is very smooth and creamy. It is definitely a robust, hefty in your face kind of a scent. And I think it's because of that big dose of saffron, which a lot of people didn't mention, that this has a leathery opening as well, alongside with the fruity notes. And also it does have this, as I mentioned, mouth-watering, fruity floral chords on the opening, which makes it a summery kind of a scent, if you will, but I would say more for like an evening time because, again, of that saffron. Now, I don't know how the saffron is going to play itself out as the fragrance opens up, but so far, it gives me this upscale, classy kind of an aura that is a summer scent, but for nighttime because of the fruitiness and the fresh, mouth-watering cocktail, fruity floral chords that's mixed with the saffron that makes it kind of sophisticated and upscale. I'm comparing it to maraschino because when I do that, it kind of allows me to understand Dolce Melodia even more, like its chords, like how sweet it is, how bitter it is. That really helps when you compare two different fragrances at the same time. And I have to say, the more I smell maraschino, I realize that Dolce Melodia is very leathery. Yeah. And it's definitely not as sweet as maraschino. It opened up sweet, but it also has this bitterness to it. So again, this is definitely a sweet scent, but as it opens up more, it becomes bitter. It has this irresistible, seductive, fruity, juicy, and abstract floral qualities to it, which is very interesting. But I just cannot get over that big dose of saffron, which nobody talked about. I mean, this is not your typical Hawaiian punch cocktail, which a lot of people said that it is. It's actually not. It is a very unique, it does have that kind of a cocktail kind of an aura to it, but with like leather, a big dose of it. And it's the saffron that does that to it, which makes it very, very sophisticated and classy. Very attractive, energizing, but not youthful. I would say this is more of a mature kind of a scent. Not too mature, but definitely more mature than maraschino, I would say. Again, the fruits come off as a creamy pear and apple sliced in lemonade drink kind of a feel, but that spicy note from saffron just counterattacks that and makes it a very sophisticated and classy kind of a fragrance. Dolce Melodia is definitely stronger than maraschino. And I get this sourness from Dolce Melodia. It's just very beautiful, very complex. I really like this a lot. Very beautiful. So as the fragrance opens up more, the florals are coming forward and they are definitely creamy, indolic, seductive, somewhat sour, but yet spacious. So there's this airiness that is happening, which is balancing out the fragrance very nicely. And I think that's why I'm loving this scent so much. That heftiness, which is definitely from saffron, is calming down, but it's definitely there. And that's what makes it so sophisticated and beautiful. And it is becoming of an airy, balanced, luxurious, beautiful, addictive, sensual, sexy, floral, woody, and leathery type of a scent. So Dolce Melodia feels like a gorgeous, somewhat fresh, fruity, musky, floral, but super addictive kind of a scent because of that saffron that creates this very woody and, as I mentioned, leathery or suede-like velvety texture. So I wanted to say leans feminine, but the saffron makes it very unisex. So I would say this is a perfect unisex kind of a scent. Very beautiful. And now, again, as it's keep opening up more, it's becoming very powdery, which that's definitely due to saffron, or I should say dusty, and there's some sandalwood in here as well, I believe, that makes it kind of powdery, milky, and there's a beautiful amber body to this as well, and the fragrance on the dry down is becoming very musky and airy, which just makes it a very beautiful, complex, multi-layer type of a scent. All right, so next we got Belcanto from Sospiro, and this one was my choice. I want to get my nose on this because I'm a big sandalwood guy. I fell in love with sandalwood initially from Tom Ford's Santal Blush. I fell in love with that scent, and then after that, I got into artisanal houses that distilled sandalwood, and they just completely went a different route, which I truly love. So I know this one is not going to be a very niche kind of sandalwood. It's definitely going to have this designerish kind of a mass appeal to it. So I'm very excited to see how Christian Provenzano approached this. So let's unbox this and see what we get. So I was definitely not expecting this from Elcanto. Wow. So it's definitely niche actually. It doesn't have that designerish kind of a vibe that I thought. Very interesting take on sandalwood. God, very unique. I really like this as well. Very well done. So to me, again, right off the bat, this is definitely a sandalwood fragrance, but it's very unique. There's something in it that I'm trying to pinpoint. Something very unique in here, which I really like. I love the fact that he added that. So it's not your typical Mysore sandalwood, that sweet, milky, powdery. I mean, these are the kind of things that you get from a sandalwood fragrance. But so you definitely get that right away. But it does open up with this fresh citric notes, but it's followed by a big wall of powderiness, which is, again, the sandalwood. And I believe that there's some powdery notes or violet or whatever in here that adds some floral touches and powdery touches that makes this fragrance very powdery. But there's something in the background that's very interesting to me, which I'm trying to figure out what it is. So currently it is zesty, fresh with some hints of dewy floral touches. And I'm waiting for it to open up more because I want to find out what is that smell that I'm getting that's so interesting. I think that smell that I'm getting, which you guys are going to be blown away by this, it's really interesting. Again, nobody talked about this when they talked about Belcanto. I believe it might be the vetiver that's doing that. It's probably Havanese vetiver. There is this very unique, mild, faint smokiness in here. Almost like diesel smell, like gasoline smokiness, but very faint in the background that has also some weird acidic sourness to it. Very interesting, like very unique. I mean, I love this. I mean, these little things that Christian Provenzano did to these fragrances makes them very unique. Dolce Melodia, the Saffron, and now Belcanto, I believe is the Havanese vetiver, and I'm not even sure if it's Havanese vetiver, but the way it smells, I believe it is. Very interesting. So again, as I mentioned, it opens up very citric, and you're followed by this wall of powderiness. I believe it's Mysore sandalwood, or maybe it can be Indian sandalwood, I'm not sure. But because it has sweetness to it and milkiness to it, I think it has to be Mysore sandalwood. But besides having that citric opening, as I mentioned, there's this smokiness, diesel-like kind of a smell, which makes it very interesting. And again, I'm waiting for it to open up more to see what else I get. All right, so I gave it some time just to have it to open up more. And what I get, which is really interesting, well, not really because it's a sandalwood fragrance. So I get this milky coconutty chord, which almost leans into the gourmand category because it's very creamy, milky, and powdery. So again, I believe it's definitely Mysore sandalwood at play here. Now, besides having that zesty, somewhat floral opening, which is a little bit acidic or citric, if you will, as well, besides that smokiness I was talking about, which is really interesting, that sourness, I can definitely tell that this must be a Mysore sandalwood at play. Because again of that milky, powdery, and woodiness that Mysore sandalwood usually has. But there's also this, as I mentioned, coconutty vibe, which kind of reminds me of Santal Complet, but more like the zesty, citric version of Santal Complet, if you will. So it's not the same, it's definitely different, but it kind of reminds me of that. It does have some, some faint reminiscent of Santal Complet that kind of reminds me, but it's completely different. It's very unique. And you can definitely tell that there's this big dose of Mysore sandalwood in here. Now, again, as the fragrance is opening up more, I get this dewy floral notes mixed with some green notes, which I was getting that at the beginning as well, but the green notes are becoming more alive. Again, this is a very creamy, woodsy, and powdery type of a scent. And as I mentioned, it almost lurks into the gourmand territory. And it definitely kind of reminds me of Santal Complet a bit. Some green and earthy aspects of it reminds me of Gris Charnel and somewhat, in some weird way, of Jazz Club, which I think is the smokiness of it that kind of does that. So I can see why some people, they say kind of smells like Jazz Club. I can see why some people say it smells like Gris Charnel. And also, to each their own, I can see why people say it kind of smells like Santal Complet as well, but it's definitely its own fragrance. It's really never completely Santal Complet or any of the ones that I mentioned. It's just feels like it's borrowing a little bit of the scent profile of each of those fragrances in its very own unique way, if you will. So again, from what I gather from Elcanto on paper so far, it is a very gorgeous, powdery, creamy, slightly fruity, floral, coconutty, citric, somewhat sour. The vetiver is prominent in here. The Havanese one makes it very unique. It's definitely sweet. It's woodsy, musky scent with a big dose of Mysore sandalwood at play. It is very woody, powdery, musky, warm, spicy, somewhat green, earthy, and has definitely a very zesty and citrusy body to it that stays throughout the whole life cycle of Belcanto. So in general, it is a very unique sandalwood. I never smelled any sandalwood like this, and it's a very niche kind of a sandalwood that has somewhat a mass-pleasing aura to it. But again, these little tweaks that Christian Provenzano did to this Belcanto makes it very niche and very unique in its structure. All right, so next and last, we're going to unbox Basso. Initially, when I reviewed Vibrato, everybody in the comment section told me to check out Basso. And they mentioned that it is better than Vibrato. And let me tell you, Vibrato is a powerful beast, summer beauty. Vibrato is one of the most beautiful, fresh, classy fragrances that is extremely long-lasting and potent. So I have a very high expectations for Basso. So let's unbox this and see if I'm going to get blown out of the water. This is very potent, you guys. So this one has the same potency as vibrato. Very strong, very powerful. I can tell this is going to be very long lasting. It's very green, very spicy, and it's definitely familiar. I have to say that it reminds me of a green version, a green, strong, potent, spicy version of Isola Blue or the former Oligarch by Raja Parfum. It also reminds me of Terre d'Hermès, but the Parfum version. It's not a copycat, but it certainly falls into the category of those gentlemanly, classy fragrances. So it definitely opens up citrusy, zesty, fresh, yet with a slightly bitter, dirty undertone reminiscent of blackcurrant, which must be grapefruit. It is a very dry scent, fresh, aromatic, spicy, and it comes off as very woody. It definitely shares the same grapefruit and muskiness with vibrato, but is more sophisticated and gentlemanly than vibrato is. Yeah, the opening is definitely much sharper, brighter, and spicier than vibrato. The aromatic and fresh, spicy nuances kind of tickles my nose, usually indicating the use of lots of pepper and various kind of spices at play. So I must say that there has to be a big dose of either pink pepper or black pepper here at play in this fragrance, because again, it does have that kind of a thing that tickles my nose when I smell it. And usually I get that with pink pepper or black pepper. And I think that there's a big dose of either one of them or both of them in Basso, which makes it very fresh, vibrant, and also extremely spicy and potent on the opening. But it's also very dry, and I really like it. And anyone that is looking for a fragrance that is fresh, as I mentioned, classy and gentlemanly, but very powerful, that projects crazy. Like when you walk into a room, it will turn heads. Basso is definitely the scent. So I give it some time for it to open up, and I detect some earthy and mossy nuances with hints of mild florals. The florals carry a spicy clove-like undertone, bright and vivid. It's undeniably earthy, woody, dry, and sharp, presenting a fresh green aromatic profile. Now, do I like this more than vibrato? No, I actually do prefer vibrato over Basso, even though I think this is a very classy, timeless kind of a scent. And I would say that this would be a perfect fragrance for people that have performance issues with Isola Blue or Terre d'Hermès, and they love those fragrances and they want something that lasts longer. And I would say really longer. I think this one will give you easily 10 to 12 hours because vibrato does that. And I feel like this one definitely has the same kind of a potency. So I would definitely say if you guys have an issue with the performance of those fragrances, definitely check this out. Basso is the answer to that issue, the performance issue. Other than that, it's not really a unique fragrance, but I do like it. It's not bad, but I find vibrato much more interesting than Basso. And that's it, you guys. That's all I have for the fragrances that I chose to kind of do my first impression of them from Sospiro House. Again, kind of going over the ones that they've been laying here for a while. God, I already know which one I like the most. Yeah, so I have to say Elcanto is my favorite one. That sandalwood is phenomenal. Like I said, it's kind of citric, sour, somewhat smoky, yet milky, woody, and coconutty at the same time. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's beautiful. Very sophisticated, very complex, niche kind of a scent. I love it. Almost comes off artisanal, and I think that's why I like it so much. Very well done. Very beautiful. God, the dry down is phenomenal. Next one that I like is Dolce Melodia, which is very gourmand, chocolatey, delicious, candy-like, and floral, fruity. So this one definitely very beautiful. I like this a lot. Very gorgeous, very summery. Maraschino is not very strong. It has pretty much faded away. Again, I sprayed it a while back, so I don't know if it's fair enough or not, but again, it should be still strong, but I think it's the least potent one out of all of them. But it has a very woody dry down, and it definitely has changed. I do not smell the cherry notes in here anymore, and it's very musky and woody on the dry down. So that one, not as much. Basso, I do like it better than Maraschino. It's very strong, which is not fair to say because it was the last one that I sprayed, but it is a strong scent, but it's very monotonic, so it's not as interesting. I would say that Maraschino had the most exciting opening than all of them, but the most beautiful dry down is Belcanto, is incredible. Yeah, that's it, you guys. That's all I have. Thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon with another video, and bye.